Wait for the mic.
It seems like you've come very far in your journey of being a journalist, and I want to ask, what's your next step for you? Or are you content to where you're at right now?
That's a really good question. I've always been pretty ambitious, right? I've always known what I wanted to do, and for the first time ever, I really had to do some soul searching about what's next. I was telling the ladies yesterday, it used to be, you think you get to the Today Show and then you're like, good night, everybody, that's it. But it's not that way. I mean, you get there, and again, people are writing books, people have production companies, people are doing side gigs. I was just saying, I just started co-hosting Dateline NBC on OWN, on the Oprah Winfrey Network, and it's like you got to do other things, and so I still want to do those other things. At the same time, I'm in a place where with 2 5-year-olds and an 8-year-old, they're just as busy with soccer and activities and ballet, and I want to be there. So for me, it's not about climbing anymore. It's about doing staying where I am, being happy, doing the job that I'm doing, but also being present in my kids' life. That's what's important to me. And, Lord willing, I stay healthy, and then maybe when they're older and off and out of the house, and then I want to do something that requires even more time, then absolutely. But right now, I am very content, and my bandwidth is tapped. I'm about doing all I can.
Welcome to Cleveland. We're really happy to have you here. I'm a transplanted Chicagoan from Evanston. So
I want to be rich and move to Evanston. You see these houses with the lakes?
My question is, NBC, CBS, ABC have a long history of integrity-related journalists going way back. Again, being a Chicagoan, Lester Holt was there with us for many years. Never questioned his integrity, those kinds of things. Can you give us a glimpse into the meetings that you guys have when you're being called fake news from the White House? How do you keep being neutral about things when every day you have a long history of integrity and you're being called out as fake news because they don't like what you have to say?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I mean, I know these people. Like, one of my friends, Kristen Welker, right, works at the White House. She just got married. She works her butt off. Like, don't tell me. Peter, Alexander, all these folks work so hard. They have kids at home, a lot of them. So it's one of those things where I have to be honest with you. We're so busy that it may seem like we're worried about somebody calling us fake news, but as individuals, you're just trying to get through the next day and get to the next deadline. So it doesn't bother us as much in the moment because we have a job to do. Now, in moments like this and forums like this, we can take a step back and collectively talk about it. But there aren't any meetings where we're like, okay, guys, at 4 o'clock, we're going to sit down and talk about everybody's calling us fake news. There's no time for that. So I think it's forums like this, and it's organizations like NABJ and journalism organizations, things like that, think tanks that can talk about how we can fix this problem. But when you're in it, you really don't have time to worry about it. It's like telling a kid who's being teased, you just have to put your head down and ignore them and keep doing what you're doing. It's kind of that. You just don't have time to worry about somebody calling you fake, especially when you know that it's not true. Now, if somebody's knocking at the door and you're in your basement typing up stories, you're fake news, so then you should worry. We don't have anything to worry about because, like I said, they're checking and rechecking, and you talk about Lester, that is a good man. There's no fake about it.
On the subject of fake news, you said that there is fake news, and there obviously is, and news stations aren't, but if you want to research something on the internet or on your phone or anything, are there ways or tricks you can see if what is fake news and what is a reliable source?
It's very difficult, and I was really surprised lately at even the Twitter accounts, where you look at this page of this woman and she looks like a real woman, and she's got followers. I mean, it's not as easy as you would think. You would think that you would be able to spot whether something was literally created by a bot, but you can't. So I think it's a challenge. Facebook has talked about the fact, and Twitter, they've all talked about ways that they're trying to kind of crack down on that. It definitely has to happen. All I can say is, the way we do in the news business, you have one source, you get an article from one place, that one place is not good enough to be a fact. We couldn't print something with one thing. You got to check and triple check, especially if it's something that stirs up anger or if it's partisan. You really have to do your homework. And I'm telling you that, but the reality is most people aren't doing that. If it comes across their feed, it's fact. So they're trying to work on that. It's definitely a real issue, which is why I think, you know, the big 3 or 4, or however many there are, and the cable networks, I still think we have a place. You know, everybody keeps saying that TV news is dying or what have you, but I still think there is a place for just good old-fashioned journalism. You turn on somebody you can trust and believe, and just kind of get at least some kind of a way to make sense of what's going on. Now, you may not agree with everything, but at least you need somebody to kind of help you make sense of all of it, because you can't keep up with everything going on. If you ask me about tax reform and what's the latest in this moment, I can't even tell you because it's still happening. My phone is constantly like, with the, you know, the feeds and then our own private NBC stuff. I mean, it's just nonstop.
Hi, I'm Alex Max. I'm the Great Cleaning Specialist in Black Jones. I'm still